our strike remain unchanged.
Tonight, a wave of disappointment crashes across the nation as organized labor, seen as the last bastion of hope, abruptly calls off its highly anticipated nationwide strike in the 11th hour, leaving the country on the edge over the unchecked devastation caused by illegal mining.
The 16 public universities have all voted unanimously and overwhelmingly to say that we want to go on an industrial action, and we don't care about what disorganized labor wants to do. We would be the conscience of Ghana.
This is a government that has had 8 years to deal with this problem and hasn't done so. So to call off the strike now, for me, it's most disappointing because the demands have not been met. So on what basis is the strike being called off?
Well, organized labor claims the government has assured them of, quote, enhanced measures, unquote, to combat the Galamsey crisis, but questions remain as frustration lingers.
That there is no strike effective 10th October 2024. Government have issued a directive for the LI to be revoked. This is what we want. It is being achieved. Why do we go on strike?
And amid growing fears, the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources insists that the nation's tap water remains safe for consumption despite the looming environmental toll.
Why not? I drink it every day. Even this morning, I drank water from the tap.
And tonight, another source of hope remains the Catholic Archdiocese of Accra, which says their prayer protest is on course.
The Catholic Archdiocese of Accra are calling on all Catholics, Christians and all well-meaning Ghanaians to join the environmental prayer walk against Galamsey, to advocate for government to declare a state of emergency to stop all forms of mining activities.
And Top Story, as always, is brought to you by Telecel, connecting energies and holy insecticide spray and coil. Enjoy a holy sleep. Tonight, despair, anger, and disappointment on one hand, and a huge sigh of relief on the other is a summary of the general mood in Ghana right now after organized labor, which is seen as the last bastion of hope, abruptly called off its highly anticipated nationwide strike in the 11th hour. Now, this has left the country on the edge over the unchecked devastation caused by illegal mining, popularly known as Galamsey. Organized labor arrived at this particular decision a while ago after a meeting between labor unions and government. Now, two key demands were made by organized labor, including a declaration of a state of emergency on all forms of mining, including mining in river and water bodies, and the revocation of LI 2462, which allows mining in forest reserves. But tonight, labor is telling us that it is satisfied with government's, quote, enhanced measures. Listen.
At a meeting of organized labor on October 7th, 2024, the meeting resolved that the measures announced by government were not adequate in addressing our demands and stopping the dangers posed by illegal mining. We therefore affirmed the strike notice and informed the government accordingly. Yesterday, October 8, 2024, the government team met with the leadership of organized labor and Ghana Employers Association. The meeting discussed at length organized labor's response to the earlier measures announced by government. Following this meeting, government offered enhanced and time-bound measures in respect of our demands and the fight against illegal mining. These measures include: 1, the revocation of the environmental protection, that's the mining in forest reserves, Regulations 2022, LI 2642. His Excellency the President has directed the Minister responsible for lands and natural resources to submit a memorandum for the revocation of the LI to Parliament when it reconvenes on Tuesday, October 15, 2024. The redeployment of the military and other law enforcement agencies to flush out illegal miners from water bodies and forest reserves. The military is now supporting the forest guards of the Forestry Commission to protect the forest reserves from destruction by illegal miners and loggers. Government, working with the judiciary, has already established 14 dedicated courts, 7 high courts, and 7 circuit courts to handle illegal mining cases. Collaboration with the organized labor and other stakeholders to fight illegal mining, government has asked organized labor to nominate representatives to be part of the stakeholders committee to fight illegal mining in the country. 5, government supports the call by organized labor for all presidential candidates to sign a pact committing to the fight against illegal mining. 6, government affirmed its commitment to engage with stakeholders, including organized labor and the Ghana Employers Association, to bring an end to illegal mining in Ghana. These are significant concessions that organized labor demands and threats have forced government to make towards combating illegal mining, that's Galamsey in Ghana. Comrades, organized labor has therefore decided to suspend the internal strike action. We are calling all workers to report for work on 10th of October 2024 and beyond. Organized labor will keenly monitor the implementation of these measures which government has made, and government will hear from us if it fails to do the needful.
Well, so that is the TUC General Secretary Joshua Ansah announcing the decision by organized labor to call off a strike, something that has got the whole of the nation talking, with several disappointment being put across on this announcement. My colleague James Aveji has just returned from the headquarters of Labour and joins me in studio with more details in this. First, Aveji, let's go through the enhanced measures as put out by government that TUC announced.
Well, Brace, let's start with the letter given to the organized labor by government, official response just 2 days ago, Monday, when they called the press conference to reaffirm the strike. So 6 things were put in that letter. 1 is that government will collaborate with organized labor in the fight against Galamsey. 2, that government will take steps when Parliament reconvene this month to revoke LI 2462. 3, that government will ramp up its enforcement to prohibit mining in forests and water bodies. 4, that AG, the Attorney General, will collaborate with the Chief of Justice to set up court for swift adjudication of illegal mining cases, and that government supports the call for all presidential candidates to sign the pact to commit to illegal mining, and that they are fully in support of this fight against Galamsey. So those are the 6 things they put out. Now, in today's communication, the measures put out as read by Joshua Ansah are that 1, the president has directed the lands minister to submit to Parliament a document for the revocation of LI 2462. Nothing different. The only difference is that now the president has given a directive to the lands minister to do so when Parliament reconvenes. 2, that there is the deployment of soldiers and water guards to see to the stop of Galamsey on water bodies and the forest reserves. That was contained in the initial points that talks about government is taking steps to prohibit mining on the forest, in the forest and water bodies. Nothing significant. Government has set up 14 courts, 7 circuit court and 7 high courts purposely dedicated to the trial of illegal mining. Nothing hasn't changed from the previous one. The enhancement is that the government is pointing out the number of courts it has set up.
Okay.
And finally has asked organized labor to nominate members onto the enforcement team that is being set up by government.
Okay.
And so that's the only significant thing that has changed, that now members of organized labor will be part of the enforcement team that would see to the enforcement of all of this that government has put out there. And so that's the only significant change between what we heard on Monday and what we've heard today.
All right. Just a while ago, we were getting a letter from the presidency which enumerates some 4 things that to buttress the point you made. And one of point 2 says the president has instructed the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, along with the Environmental Protection Agency, to suspend the enforcement of environmental protection, that's mining in forest reserves regulations 2023 LI 2462 with immediate effect.
Okay, so that's a new development that as we speak, LI 2462 has been suspended through the Minerals Commission as well as the Ministry of
Environmental Protection Agency with immediate effect. So let's see how that particular that goes. But Labour says after receiving this particular letter from government, it is satisfied?
Yes, that according to Mr. Joshua Ansah. In fact, let's note that this of communication that he's done today, he indicated that there was another meeting between Labour and government on the eve of yesterday, which some of the members say they are not aware of, which led to the disagreement in that meeting before the final communication. But the UTAC president, Professor Ransford Jampo, said he is really disappointed. He was very livid with the decision. He thinks that this is a unilateral decision by by the leadership of TUC, which doesn't include the viewpoint of other labor unions as far as this is concerned. Listen.
That are being said about the leadership of organized labor and the kinds of things that happened here. Okay, first is those bogus charges and allegations. I mean, otherwise, if you want to meet with organized labor, why do you come with a prepared speech? And what was read to you was the same as the document, that the speech that they brought to us. And so everything that was said, contrary to what they had prepared, was not taken on board. And so must we by all means do things to support a government's position, even if we are dying as a people? We are saying that if the government is serious, if the president is serious, at least let there be a temporary suspension, not even ban. If you can ban, let people know that we are suspending, and then these are the interventions that we are putting in place so that people will know that we are serious. But we have adopted the pipeline approach. In Ghana, everything say it is in the pipeline and all that, and clearly no deadlines. Some of us were even we even wanted to be given the opportunity to say that, well, if this is the route to go, then let us even subject government to strict deadlines. They said they will not let us talk.
Does that suggest that even in the meeting you were not allowed to?
In the meeting we were not. I made my first point. Others, a few people spoke, and if you are speaking, then the chairman gets up and say he doesn't want you to talk. And so if you want to make further suggestions, we didn't finish the meeting, and they called you guys to be to join the meeting. So we did not finish with our discussion before we realized they had called the media in, and so the meeting did not end. Then they just got up to read the statement that had been prepared already to you.
Are we to see UTAC on strike tomorrow?
Well, we are going to meet this evening. We have voted already. The 16 public universities have all voted unanimously and overwhelmingly to say that they want to go on an industrial action. And we don't care about what disorganized labor wants to do. We would be the conscience of Ghana. We will defend Ghanaians, and we will ensure that we defeat this fight. We will defeat this existential threat that confronts all of us. If disorganized labor would not want to do it, we will do it.
For example, what does this mean to
the leadership of organized labor as being incompetent to describe the
given the kinds of things that happen here? Okay, you do not call a meeting and then go with a prepared speech. Otherwise, prepare speech that are conclusive. The speech has its own conclusion. We had not spoken. We had not discussed. And then you came, and then when we had not even discussed it, so we are calling off the strike. On what basis? What was the basis? It means you sat in the comfort of your bedroom with the politician who manipulated you to come and read this to us. I mean, they have people they can manipulate, but not some of us.
So that is the president of UTAC, University of Ghana, Professor Ransford Jampo there. But other associations have also been reacting to this particular news. And Coalition of Concerned Teachers say they are satisfied with the decision of Labour. Ken Ali Awudu is national president.
That allow mining in water bodies and forest reserves. The issue of Galamsey is a worry to everybody. However, going on strike is not something that organized labor always wants to do. What we want to tell government is that the roadmap that has been agreed at should be implemented to the fullest, so that we will not come back to what is happening now. We urge all employees to resume work after from 10th October and beyond, as has been espoused by organized labor. And we reiterate again that there is no strike effective 10th October 2024. Government have issued a directive for the LI to be revoked. This is what we want. It is being achieved. Why do we go on strike?
The biggest call is the declaration of a state of emergency. That has not been done. Why did you turn out?
The declaration of the state of emergency goes through a process. The president initiated it. It should take 7 days for the Council of State to gazette it, after which it should go to Parliament for Parliament to address it. As we speak, we are left with 2 months into December elections. By the time the state will go through the processes of declaring a state of emergency, we may have gotten closer to elections. And when the state of emergency is declared also around that time, it is going to even affect the 7th December elections. You don't know the areas in this country where the state of emergency will be declared.
But you knew this before you made a call.
Yeah, we knew this before we made the call because we wanted to achieve certain things. The major thing we want to achieve was the revocation of the LI that allow mining in our forest reserve, and we have achieved just that.
Well, the announcement by organized labor of cancelling this particular demonstration has been met with a lot of disappointment. Civil society organizations have joined in expressing their disappointment in the position taken by labor. Awola Sewa is coordinator for Eco-Conscious and a lead advocate for banning of Galamsey in Ghana.
This is a government that has had 8 years to deal with this problem and hasn't done so. So to call off the strike now, for me, it's most disappointing because the demands have not been met. So on what basis is the strike being called off? So what does very soon mean? Very soon doesn't mean anything. You see, you need timelines. The president put his presidency on the line almost 8 years ago. Things went from bad to worse. Very soon doesn't mean anything. And then the government is going to propose, which a proposal for the revocation of LI 2462.
Right.
You see, we have to be serious. We face an existential threat. And I fear that there have been compromises that have taken place. We know that it started with divide and rule, trying to get members to say they were not in agreement and so on and so forth. So I was hoping that organized labor would stand first. But the fight has always been led by the civil society organizations. Organized labor took a very long time to fight, a very long time to realize that in a sick environment, your wages don't mean anything. If you are dying of cancer or taking of it, is money the bank account.
So that's Awola Sewa, the expression her disappointment with Labour's decision. And tonight, several more people are joining in this whole, decision by organised Labour to declare how sad they are at this particular decision that organised Labour has taken. But James, before I let you go, what were the initial demands by Labour?
Brace 6 compressed into 4. Actually, 1, as we know, is the declaration of a state of emergency on all mining activities. 2 is the revocation of the LI 2462. 3 is the call for a broader stakeholder engagement, including chiefs who are the custodians of the lands on which the Galamsey activities are happening, And then finally, that all presidential candidates should sign to a pact that will be developed by organized labor to commit to the fight against Galamsey even ahead of the election 2024.
Okay, grateful to you for that. But let me bring in Dr. Kenneth Ashibe. He's convener for the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey. Doc, I'm grateful to you for joining. This obviously is not what you expected at the end of the meeting today. Hello, Dr. Ashibe?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I was asking you that obviously this wasn't the sort of expectation you had. Are you disappointed?
Well, you see, the Media Coalition Against Galamsey has been fighting this battle, for a very long time. We organized labor just joined, so, well, they have their own issues. You've heard Professor Jampo say the things they are they're saying. But the reason for our the red band, it's even a lot more serious now. We seem to have some indication or some actions that are going to be taken. You don't have too clear timelines on them, but we know that the EPA is working together with the Minister for Environment and then Attorney General for this memo to go. So the time now is for the Media Coalition to do what it is that we know best how to do, to make sure that we keep the pressure on government. And so we need to mobilize all the listeners of Joy FM, all the multimedia brands and the viewers, that tomorrow we should, express our revulsion for this Galamsey and wear our red bands, so that what the points that government said it's going to do in terms of the revocation it does. But if you see, if it was the Media Coalition or the rest of the Ghana Coalition, we would know that beyond just saying that you're revoking the LI, it is important that the president issues an EI to revoke all the permits. There are several permits that have been given for people to mine in the forest reserve under this LI 2462. And so we're going to be writing to His Excellency the President to revoke all of those permits. We would also write to the EPA to make sure that they don't sign any permits for these people that the Minerals Commission has given under the LI 2462. So that we don't have to then say this board now come back to us and say, the permits were given to them when the LI 2462 was subsisting. So once the president has declared his intention to revoke it, the president should then also issue that EI that does not require anything from Parliament to revoke all of these permits immediately. And then we would also ensure that our members, so multimedia, including Erastus and all of them, we will be out in the field to make sure that actually the people, the military and the forest guards that are supposed to be getting people out of the forest reserve are doing so. We would be calling on all citizens as they wear the red bands. If you are anywhere, you see any of the champans still on the water bodies, take the pictures and send to us. The time to be able to keep the pressure on government to ensure that what it is that the president has said he's going to do, he's doing. It's really, really now that we really need to do that. It is in the light of that the Catholic Church on Friday, will still go ahead with their prayer walk, their peaceful prayer walk, to ensure that the things that his president has proposed, God will dispose, and ensure that all the people who have to act are actually acting. So the time for the whole of Ghana to ensure that we keep the pressure on is now a lot more today than any time else.
But have you spoken to your colleagues or your friends in organized labor to understand this enhanced measures that they say government has promised them?
Well, I think that is what they have in their press release, and so the question you asked is where is the state of emergency, where at least the moratorium, because some of the things that are in that enhanced measures are things that have been going on. But be it as it may, organized labor, they came to the party a bit late. Maybe the understanding of the issues, maybe might not have been what it ought to be. But what we will do is to make sure that whatever that they have gone to discuss with the president, and now they are going to be part of the, those who are going to fight it. So our pressure would be on them to make sure that they do what it is that they have to do to ensure. Because see, the end goal for us is to stop Galamsey. That's the end goal. So for us in the media coalition against Galamsey, we will not let anything dissuade us. You know, we're in this country where whilst we're fighting, we got Ashawan to be prosecuted. The AG then went to file an only protocol. So we will not allow these things. So I call on media, please. We are going to keep the intensity of what we have been doing, you know, devoid of what organized labor has done, but keeping in mind the things that government has said it's going to do, and ask for more, things that we can measure. Smart. These things should be made smart. When are they going to be done? Who is going to do them? So that we can keep our pressure. You look into what organized labor has said. They talk about 14 courts being established. Go back and look at the statement that has been issued by government. They talk about 4 courts. So there are things that we as media need to clarify. How many of these courts have actually been set up? How are those courts working? How do we ensure that those cases that are currently before these courts, as the Attorney General said, are dispatched with as quickly as possible? How do we ensure that these people who are supposed, the military, who are supposed to be out there working, are doing the things that they ought to do? Okay. So my call to the media is that let our resolve be where we are. Stopping, you know, Galamsey, that's been the thing that we said that we're doing. Okay. And the call to all Ghanaians is that tomorrow we are starting the wearing of the red bands. Let us wear the red bands, and let's make sure that we can support government to do what it ought to do. The other thing that we need to do as well is that now that we have some commitment without the state of emergency, we should be asking the MPP presidential candidate, the NDC presidential candidate, they need to sign on to these measures and more. And we also need to start asking the parliamentary candidates in these mining communities, some of them who are on the ground, campaigning and talking about the fact that they will not stop Galamsey. We need to ask them to also openly support the things that government has said, and even more. And so that when we come on January 7, 2025, we now don't have to come and go to vice president or the former president to ask whether you sign on to this. We need that done also now.
Okay, grateful. Let me bring in government and ask more details of what they intend to do. Dr. Paul Grave Wachidankwa is government spokesperson on governance and security. Paul Grave, thank you for joining. Now, government says they will deploy the additional military forces to intensify the ongoing Operation HOT, which aims to curb illegal mining activities. What time and when are these military officers going to the ground?
Thank you very much, and a very good evening to your listeners and viewers. Yesterday on PM Express with you, I told you that organized labor, we are pleading that they will soften their stance. And I'm very glad that today, in less than 24 hours for organized labor to go on their nationwide strike, they have softened their stance. So we would congratulate organized labor once again for joining President Nana Dankwa Kufuor's fight against illegal mining.
That is my program, but I want to understand, when are the military guys or military men and women going to the fields?
It's almost immediate. Almost immediately. Immediately they are going. Immediately.
So tonight, if I go to any Galamsey site, I'll see a military officer there who's ensuring that the practice does not fester.
Have you been involved in military operations before? I think that the letter is to the latter. Almost immediately, the military are being deployed. And so look at the distance from Accra to any of the mining sites, and you do the calculation yourself. But almost immediately, you would see that government has been very swift in making sure that the additional military to be able to be part of the river guards are going on the various sides to protect the water bodies and to protect the forest reserves.
Well, the people who live in these communities, for example, off my mind, I can mention El Siejo. Now, from Apremdo, where we have the 2BN, to El Siejo would take the military 20 minutes to drive there. Are you saying that the El Siejo residents who are listening to us now can confirm that they've seen military people who are in the community to check that Galamsey people are not destroying the river body?
Kojo, when we're doing military operations, there are deployments that are done. I can assure you that the military, as is being deployed to be able to do what President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo has asked them to do, who is the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. I cannot tell you whether they are going in the next 20 minutes. I cannot tell you whether they are going in the next 2 hours. I cannot tell you whether they are going in the next 5 hours. But I can assure you and tell you that swiftly operations are underway to make sure that the military gets on site.
How many courts have been established? 14 or 4?
Well, you know, there are conversations that comes from us as government, which is what was issued by the Director of Communications at the Office of the President, that we are working very much with the courts to make sure that courts are set up, high courts and circuit courts are set up for us to be able to speed and fast track finding issues that are in the courts.
Well, let me bring in Professor Ransford Jampo now. Prof, I'm grateful to you for staying on. Now, organized labor has cut it off. You've declared the intention that UTAC will still go on and strike. Are we likely to see you go on strike come Thursday?
Good evening. I think what I put out there is clear enough. I said we're not happy with the way a manifest went. At today's meeting, it looks like anything that can choreograph stage managed. And so the National Committee of this evening, and given that all the 15 public universities have voted to strike, to demand that the right things are done to end illegal. We would communicate our final decision at the close of meeting this organ.
Now, when you say stage managed, what do you exactly mean?
The conveners of the meeting came to the meeting with already prepared speech. When we had been summoned to a meeting to discuss a supposed enhanced proposal from the government to address the menace. We did not discuss it, but they came to me a statement to the effect that we should be calling of the strike. And when we drew their attention to the impropriety of what they did, they apologized. And so they opened the floor for some people to make comments here and there. But at the end of the day, we were not done. Before we realized, they had called in the media. And then they read what they had already prepared in their hands to the media. We are not small boys. Even if for some reason you want to do this, you should do it with some tact and finesse. The way they did it was so shameful. And so we will take exception to that. And we have already decided on what to do. And don't forget that UTAC alone was able to insist that the very antiquated, obnoxious public university bill be thrown into garbage. And we knew how we went about it. We threw it into the garbage. And so we would not disappoint Ghanaians.
So is it a case that these enhanced measures that government has announced are not something that appeal to you as members of UTAC?
Different in substance from what was articulated and discussed on Monday and was rejected. And so the point is that if you read these things to us on Monday and members felt that they were not enough, why the sudden U-turn? Why the sudden expectation that you come and read virtually the same thing? Essentially, they are the kinds of things government says they will be doing. And we were thinking that at least a temporary moratorium announced. When we say moratorium, it's not a ban. It's like a suspension. Okay, you can do so for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, even a week, so that we can all brainstorm and discuss some of the proposals government want to adopt. We can discuss their feasibility so we can all own them. That was all we're asking for. It was not too much. But to the extent that nobody wanted to listen to you, but quickly we read what has already been prepared in their hands. We felt it was shameful, and that's not how to lead unions that have people who have independent minds of their own. So, like I said, we'll meet to review what has happened in relation to the fact that the 15 public universities in Ghana have already voted to go on an industrial action.
Once you are not satisfied, is there any move that you would want to take against leadership of organized labor? Is that something that can happen?
We'll discuss all these. We may take a decision. I'm sure there are so many things that will be discussed, and we would also, if it doesn't come up, I will table it myself about the need for us to even re-examine our relationship with them, because we are very serious-minded people, and we would not allow some of these things to go on like that. But otherwise, then, before we're going, there are so many well-meaning Ghanaians calling you to tell you we have our hopes on you. And so you cannot go for a meeting with a prepared speech that was not discussed with us, being read to us. And even when we raised the issue and they apologized, they didn't see the need to incorporate other suggestions that were made. And so it is shameful, and you cannot be part of it.
Grateful to you. So that's Professor Ransford Jampo there. This has been Top Story, brought to you by Telecel, connecting energies and holy insecticide spray and coil. Enjoy a holy sleep. Well, so many things to do about this, Galamsey. And my colleague MF Appa is up next with News Night.